appreciate you for coming through, man. Appreciate you for having this conversation with me, man. How about we start with just introducing yourself to everybody, giving everybody a little bit about your background, where you're from, sort of your journey, and what brought you to entrepreneurship.
I guess starting out, initially from Haiti, came here when I was 6. Overall, relatively big family, 6 of us. My dad was actually, he owned 2 businesses in Haiti, very successful, came here and just kind of like started from scratch. So I always had that to look back at. But yeah, I mean, I've never really wanted to go into business per se. I think it always just landed in my lap. So like initially at like 15, I was into music. Opened up a studio. It was okay, nothing crazy, but did that. Actually got an investor. Initially, it was my brother.
I was gonna ask, okay, friends and family.
Yeah, my brother, I love him. He put up $50,000 and just helped me build the studio. It was incredible. It was a flop.
That's love,
That's love, though. And, but it was incredible, like to just have that first taste of like what it's like to run a business. And like I was young, I was like 21, and that was interesting. Fast forward, I ended up, but I did realize how to manage a business well.
You mind if I interject? What from the experience do you think you pulled from that experience at the studio to give you that insight into like managing the next business?
You know what it was? I think like you have to make sure. I think it was just like the early process of like being so young, putting together like a nice studio that people felt welcomed in. Managing the schedule, just the basics of like marketing it, getting people to come in and feel comfortable. That relationship, that customer, owner relationship you have to build. Just like the managing it and all of that, right? And that was like a first taste of like, man, this is work in itself. So I had that to walk away with. Fast forward, just always, and myself too, if I'm into something, like I put my all into it and I make sure like, I get things done, right? So just kind of like having that creative mind early on, but then also having like that very practical and like type A kind of like mindset too. So to marry the two was interesting to say the least in the beginning. And then also learning to differentiate the difference between like, your friends and work. Because, in the beginning I had a studio, so it's like, all the homies came through, all the homies. And it was like, oh, bruh. And yeah, that was like that was something in itself too, like managing that, navigating that space of like, hey, you could only come through from, these downtimes that, someone's not booking.
Right.
But yeah, that was entrepreneurship. My background, you were asking, went to school for accounting, did that for some time, became a finance manager overall. Then I ended up going back and getting my master's in computer science, so developed a technical background too. That's me in a nutshell, just like an enigma, bro. Just like, a lot of different things.
What propels you to take the leap of faith to say, I don't want to just start one company, I'm going to start 2 ventures, right? And is there anything that you pulled from the earlier experiences into your experiences today?
It's interesting. So I think like there's a version of me that died and like there's like a completely new version of me today. So like the younger version of me was just like a guy trying to figure it out, right? Trying to like, at one point I had a studio trying to figure that out. Non-alignment, it didn't work out. Managed an artist, we did it all as far as just like, I found him off YouTube, blew him up, got him, Grammy nominated. I had business partners at the time. But even then, like, it goes into more like a personal life. And there's really no difference between business and personal. It's all like it's the same thing. It's just kind of like, whatever happened with that situation needed to happen for this new version of me to emerge. So the artist blew him up. What I learned and I'll explain where I'm saying this. What I learned in that process was like, I think there's 2 ways that people go about business. So there's one version where it's like you're in your mind and you have like this chip in your shoulder. You have something to prove, right? You have something to prove to everybody, and that in itself, that that energy, that anger, whatever you want to call it, resentment, blah blah blah, that feeds you to like stay up all night, do all the things that you need to do, get it done because you want to prove it, you want to get revenge. I'll show them that mindset, right?
Fuels the fire.
Correct. Yeah, and that's one aspect of it, and that is a flame that goes out quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that is because that same energy that, you know, it's not really your authentic self, it's your traumatic or, you know, damaged self projecting itself. Cool. Mm-hmm. That's one version to manifest. But even when you get where you want to go, where you think you want to go, you have to revamp that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
you got to find a new chip.
You got to find a new chip. And unless you go inside, crumbles. Yeah. That's the nature of the beast. That's why you hear about the CEO that doesn't have good rapport with the employees because he's still fighting that demon. Yeah. You know? And because there's no difference between your personal life and your business life. There really is no difference. People think there is, but it's not. It's the same thing, just projecting yourself in different ways. But like when it comes to me, like what I believe in, you know, I think, you know, our experience on this planet obviously is finite. So it's like, and what's really happening is when it comes to just this universe, however you want to put it, this, you know, cosmic experience. In order for the universe is essentially perfecting itself, right? And what I mean by that is you had this one thing that started as just this one, you know, call it Big Bang, bang, boom. It has all these different objects that's being projected out right now, and it's going through. And we were talking about this off camera, kind of like this rendering process of like, you know, validating its own perfection. And within that, everything needs to be expressed. Mm-hmm. That means everything crazy, everything, you know, inspirational, everything in between needs to be expressed, and it will be expressed. And that will get it to 100% when all things are expressed, and then it'll validate perfection, and the things that are of quality, of perfection will last. And that's when we're back to bang, boom, back to one, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that. And I, you know, when you have a spiritual practice and you kind of sit with that concept, it comes to life and it makes sense to you. When you could tap into that void, you realize that, you know, we are experiencing phenomena, bro, and we're part of that. And there's a beautiful understanding that comes from that when you realize there's something bigger than you at play. So for me, long-winded, I know it's super long-winded, but I gotta just walk you through it. All good. For me, what came to me was just kind of like, so I went through my patch of like what it's like to be depressed in 2017, and just again being out of harmony, mm-hmm. and not really, you know, being in sync with myself. And going through that journey, I realized, and you know, I realized that there's so much shame that comes with, like, you know, when somebody is saying they're depressed, like, people don't really honor that. And sometimes, you know, there's some community, and it's still a personal journey at that, for sure. Mm-hmm. But for me, what I wanted to do was just kind of like elevate that experience for someone. So I feel like with the company you're talking about, which is Vessels, like, this is me bringing closure to my journey from going from depressed, partially, like, you know, suicidal, to like having a spiritual awakening where I'm good. Mm-hmm. I get it, I'm good. And passing that forward the best way I can to the next person. Because truly, Vessels is what I needed when I was going through my journey. Yeah. It would have been incredible if somebody just gave me whatever, this box, and be like, bro, I'm thinking of you. I know you're going through your journey. This is what this company does. Incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And that's what I want to give to the world with this, what I'm doing now. And that's how, and again, back to, you know, it's finite. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we have limited time. And if this is how this moves through me, I'm leaning into that and letting it be what it's going to be, you know? Yeah. And it's incredible just to, like, the few people that have, you know, given boxes to just hear their story, and like for them to be like, bro, the thought and blah, blah, blah that went into this, mission accomplished. Good.
What's in, can you describe what comes in one of these boxes?
So Vessels, the company, is intended to build community around just having your own awakening and enlightenment. And what does that mean? That means coming to terms with who you are as a as awareness, right? And like when you go through all of these things, when you hear people are depressed, anxiety, all these things, that's just people not aligned to who they are. Like your true nature is bliss. Like when you are in the moment, you hear, you're present, and you just, the mind dies down a little bit, you're happy, right? So when you see people with all these blockers, it's because they don't know, and they also not in alignment. Maybe they don't, they don't have a practice that helps them tap in to who they really are. So the first offering is a meditation bench. It's a aromatherapy candle, and it comes with a course. Yeah, and
these are in-person courses, or are these digital courses?
No, it's online. It's online.
Okay,
so it's like but the box, the box itself, the overall experience, it's an elevated brand for elevated people, or people that inspire to be elevated spiritually, or like internally, right? And again, for me, it was just like, it's what I needed. So like, however it came to me, it was just kind of like, this is it. You need to project this out into the world. Somebody needs this, and just trust that. And that's what Vessels is, bro. It's just like, and it's crazy because like the people I meet on this journey, it's just gratitude, bro. Like the amount of incredible people that just say, "Wow, I get where you're coming from, and I'm aligned with you." It's like, wow. I don't have words, because it's kind of like, man, like some people, I don't have words, bro.
That's dope. Goals app. Can you talk a little bit about what the app does, sort of what the inspiration was behind deciding to bring that into the world?
Yeah, so Goals, and shout out to my business partner, Gabriel Vega. Goals came from one failed venture to this. So we initially had, before COVID, we had a company called Tixie. And Tixie was basically an event management platform. Okay. And with COVID, obviously, everything just...
I was going to say, this is like, what's the timeline for Tixie?
So in 2017, I wanted to do nothing. I was functionally depressed. I was doing, I wanted to do nada. So then 2018, we started playing with the idea, and then we just spent like time just kind of like, okay, what would it look like? Started talking about it, build, try. And that's the thing about alignment. Yeah. Like trying to build it, and it just was like it wasn't really coming along the way we wanted. I'm like, man, screw this. I want to get my master's in computer science. I want to do it myself, right? Like
almost like pressing the issue,
pressing forward, but just trying to build it, and it's just the timing just wasn't right. Spent 2 years trying to build it properly, right? Just botched version, it just wasn't right. We were playing with AR at the time, just like everything. And then COVID happened, and then it just kind of died down. And then, but the beautiful thing about that, like, what I took away from that venture was just kind of like, it's all about the journey of like what you're looking to do. So what I mean by that is, it's like, me and Gabe, we started out with this one venture. It did not work, right? But that's a perfect excuse to just get into arguments and be like, it's your fault, and just kind of like break apart, right? And just become, enemies, so to speak. And it actually brought us closer. We were like, man, that didn't work. Cool. We learned something from it. We were like, we got our MBA from this company. Yeah. And then like, we would just sit down and just kick it. And then one day, I want to say, actually last year, 2023, right? June, I was just like, you know what? I think I got it. I think I know where we are. Yeah. Let's look into this artificial voice cloning. Let's look into that.
Where did that intuition come from? Were you just like playing around with it?
You know what it was? Okay, so from a personal level, I used to have these journals that I used to just track 7 things I need to do every day that represents the best or true version of myself, all stemming from just self-help, self-development, right? And I used to check off those things every day and give myself a score. So that was the first starting point. Like habit tracking apps were kind of like, very much binary, like yay, nay, did you do it? But there's no intuitiveness to it, where like it's part of like I personally feel like the empathy map, whoever drew it for them, is not there. Like, you know, with that in mind, we just started going back to the drawing board and looking at like, okay, when you are trying to accomplish something or you have a vision in mind, what does that really look like? And like the approach I wanted to take was just more like a biophilic design approach, which is like, we know how success happens, but what's more important is understanding that how success happens and then building around that. So that means under days where you're not necessarily motivated, like what does that look like?
Yeah.
You might need a pep talk. Okay, what's the tech that can help solve for that? Synthetic voice cloning from a voice that resonates.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like just being mindful of that journey and then putting the touch points in place that really gets you to the end goal. And it's very much just, you know, and this goes back to everything we were talking about. When you let things go through you and you try to be as authentic as possible in your process, the right solutions come to mind. And that's it. And that's how this thing came to be. It started out with just that, but then it's gonna be synthetic media at the end. You know, just like, yeah.
That's dope. You shared a little bit about some of the features, and I think it's kind of cool. You were saying that you can use or select a personality or somebody that you want to give you feedback, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? I think one of the folks you used was David Goggins.
Yeah. So Gabe is a big Goggins fan.
Yeah.
So, so again, it's kind of like, you know, and it's all intertwines, man. So if you really think about where we are, human connection, for starters, when you talk, it's low tech, right? So, you know, really it's just emotion that connects better. But when you try to talk, that in itself is already low tech, fine. So we got to deal with that. But what I'm saying is when it comes to this app, for us, not only is just, even this is like low tech. It's like, can you feel what I'm saying? Just like, can I project that out?
Yeah.
But when you talk about even the app, now even that whole process in itself becomes even more low tech, because now it's like you're dealing with, like, again, just trying to go through this process of like confirming you did it or not, and all these different things that really make up why you did it is not really resonating with even us. So what we do is we try to take whoever, let's just say it's an influencer, let's just say it's an instructor. We take their voice, we take their likeness, we take their story, and based on where you are, how you confirm the app saying, I did it, I missed it, or I was busy with my kids, and we curate a story around that to give you a message, right? But again, like what I'm saying when I say low tech is just kind of like, we need to get to a place where, like, literally, if we can, it needs to be a one-on-one conversation, which is why synthetic media comes into play. Meaning, like, if it could be your face and your voice, I'm looking at the phone and it's talking to me. That's where we need to get to. But right now, we're going through all this process of like low tech to get there. And there's also like the human component of it where, like, it's, again, phenomena. It's like, oh my God, that's over the top. Goggins is talking to me.
Yeah.
We got to kind of help people get to that state. Even though the tech is available, you still got to like walk people through that. So that's what we're going through. Just kind of like building that human connection as much as possible with low technology.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah. So just to make sure I'm tracking. Is one of the end goals that Ed wants to work out 5 times a week.
Yes.
This week. I miss Thursday for whatever reason. I then get a message from myself. Oh no, I was gonna say down the line with the synthetic media. Like, with my.
That's even wavier. That's even trippier.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Okay.
I love it. But you know what I mean? But it's just kind of like that personal community of like, if you resonate with somebody, letting that person give you a personalized message, because your neural path is already connected to that person.
Right.
However you got there, right? Social media, blah, blah, blah. But somebody has done something where it resonates with you. So to be able to get a message for them, there's already a connection there. On top of that, you have your immediate circle that also moves you, and people that you care about their opinion. So that's where accountability comes into play with the app. So like once you create a goal, you can invite friends to essentially keep you accountable or join you in that process. So, and you have a group chat, there's communication. Whoever is the accountability partner from an AI standpoint, it interjects into the communication in the group chat.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are talking about, hey, I'm looking for tips on how to do X, Y, and Z, that AI, the AI AP jumps in there and says, hey, you could do legs and this is how you do it. It's just super curated. It's very futuristic, just like bringing it back home to like right now. And, you know, a lot of people initially found it hard to wrap their head around it, but now that they clear it, they're like, oh, this is okay.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I could dig this. I could dig, you know, Beyonce telling me, you know, I did a good job at the, you know, whatever, at the gym today or whatever. Just having that personalized touch, you know what I mean?
Got me thinking about Star Trek a little bit with the sort of hologram or holographic message.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a couple questions on the business front, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned AI.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of discussion around AI today, right? It's kind of a hot topic, particularly for people of color, right? I think that there's not as much understanding around what it is and even what the potential impact is going to be on our lives, right? Why was it important for you to build with AI, right? Because I think that's actually a really dope aspect of what you're building is that you're tapping into new technology, right? I think a lot of times we can get caught behind the 8 ball and get to the party a little bit late, and the fact that you're building AI first is super dope. Maybe the reason is that you just needed AI to build what it is that you're building, but I'm curious if there was any other intuition.
So for me, so there's a few great points there. So I think it comes down to mindset, you know? So like for me, it's again, like taking like a biophilic approach to like to solve this problem, regardless what the problem is. That's always the best way to approach it, right? Don't infringe on the process and just kind of like figure out how to accommodate to get to the end goal. So that's one side of it, and AI was just a great solution. But another side of it too, as a futurist, for me, it's just kind of like, how do I push the limit of like breaking low tech to just make it a one-on-one as much as possible, specifically for this use case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just the best solution. And I think, you know, when it comes for a specific situation, as far as like the app and what it does, the only thing that matters when it comes to what we're talking about when it comes to goal attainment, is really community and accountability.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be accountable to yourself. Obviously, you got to do the work, but then partially in that process, people typically need some sort of support. You know, and it's kind of like, again, like with, you know, there's the low tech side of it where it's kind of like, you know, I have to go to my phone, confirm it, where the natural behavior would be like you would call your friend and like, yo, if you have that rapport.
Right.
So it's kind of like solving for that and trying to get rid of that friction as much as possible. And the only way we're going to do that is if we just tap into the infinite and just try to get rid of as much baggage in that way, which is like, this is why, like, when you set the goal, you just speak into the mic, you just say it, and then it gives you outputs. You just select it. It's just, again, the friction. You got to get rid of all of the friction as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to us, like, you know, black folk, it's like, for various reasons, you know, sometimes we're just not aware, like we don't know, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like we get the information late. Yeah. But the beautiful thing about it is once we get the information, we're
it's lit.
Yeah, it's lit. We run the party, baby.
Yeah,
you know?
it's up,
and it's
sure.
a beautiful thing. So it's kind of like, but I think like it's just it's the 80-20 rule, you know? So like the 20% that'll get it, once people start to see the super beneficial aspect of the app as far as just like the value add that it brings to like your process, whatever that looks like, can't beat it. You know, again, the friction is just trying to create that human experience as much as possible by breaking through all of the friction, which is having, you know, right now by default, is regardless what we build, it's low tech because it's on the app. You know what I'm saying? And even when I talk to you right now, this is low tech.
Yeah.
I still have to say the words as opposed to just like telepathically, you just know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, how do we get as close to that as possible? You know?
That's ill. It's empathy, right? It's
empathy, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the things I think is super dope is like with everything that you're working on, there's a lot of empathy that comes through, and even in our conversations off camera, like that's come through for me. But I also say like sometimes there's shame in not completing a task or not following through with the routine.
Yeah.
I think this is actually a really dope, empathetic way to get encouragement from
AI.
There you go. There you go.
That's how we think about it.
It's I think that's really dope. Your dream, right? So when you close your eyes or when you open your eyes and you're dreaming, you're thinking about what you're building at Vessels and what you're building at Goals. What is the end result that you're hoping that you can bring to the physical, if you will? Like what is your hope that both platforms will do for humanity, for society, for community?
Phenomenal question. I think for me, honestly, I think I have different objectives for each, but ultimately, I want to usher in a new world. Yeah. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like when you look at like I'll start with Goals. When you look at Goals and what it's about, Goals is taking something that's super, sci-fi. Like we're talking about synthetic media. Like I take your face and your likeness, your voice, and like your story, and I put it in front of a kid that's like, I really gravitate towards whatever you have going on. It could be a course about, being an investor, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Super sci-fi, super trippy too. Like, fine, but that the future, past, and present really just exists right now. You have to just decide which one you want to live in, right? So for me, I want to usher in a new world. Like that's part of that new world. Like there is no friction. I want to break that as much as I can, and if that's the first tech that does it, the next is the hologram, like you said, or the next is the version of me in the future. I'm talking back to myself. I'm all in. Yeah, that's just what it is. It's like everything is everything. Like if we don't tap into what's available, or like we don't. Again, everything has to be projected out, dude. Everything has to somehow, some way manifest itself. Yeah. And it's like if we just leave it as like the future, quote unquote, it's the future. But really, if you just bring it to right now, it's right now. Yeah. So I'm just taking whatever, like as far as my mind could go, I'm just bringing home. Like this is where we really at, and letting that be.
So you gave me your why behind Goals. What would you say the why is behind Vessels?
The why behind Vessels is to spark that awareness that you more than the mind and the body. And the question becomes, what is that exactly? And the answer to that is relatively, straightforward. Yet it confuses a lot of people. And the answer is simply your awareness having a human experience.
Yeah.
You're experiencing phenomena at real time. And and the only way to really discover that is gonna be through these different modalities like breathwork, meditation, having a spiritual practice. And I know some people are like, oh, spirituality, cancel that. I don't know what to tell you, but your nature is spiritual.
Right.
Spirit is just, spirituality is really just what we know as religion today. But before that, it was just really a process of honoring nature. Like the 5 elements, and just being aware of that. That's what a spiritual practice was. Just being in tune and harmony with all of that. Same way, just being aware of just how like everything that on the outside impacts the inside.
It's all interconnected.
Absolutely, everything is one, and it's like that's what Vessels is, sparking the minds to understand that, and then building that community. And then from there, as a business, serving those people, and the first initiation in that process for me is somebody might look at be in the mind to me and like look at Vessels and be like, oh, I love the branding. Oh, it's such a great brand. It's like the whole fancy side of like spirituality. Let's do the yoga. Let's go to the brand. Cool. how about you sit down for 30 minutes with us and like really get into this meditation?
And be still.
Yeah, and really like whatever is going on inside, let's see that build up.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some breath work and let, you know, whatever happened to you as a kid pop out.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And then once we help you tap into that, which is truly the intention with the first offering, in an elevated way. Like it, you know, you go through the whole process of branding and boom, boom, but really behind all of that is a sincere, like, again, like me sitting on the grass and just trying to get as much people to sit down with me and be like, oh, this is what it was all about.
Yeah.
And that's the community. And then within that, everything else comes to light. Like all the other offerings that's gonna come is gonna come to light. It's gonna be like, for example, and I'll put it out there, we're gonna roll out mushroom coffee. That's gonna be like a product that's, you know, serve the community, you know? And it's gonna be a bunch of that. It's gonna be technology. It's just gonna be a community, and everybody's gonna get it. Why? Because, you know, when you're dealing with the average person that's in the mind that hasn't awakened to the reality, it's money, power, respect, right? Cool, got it. For us, it's like, you know, we're gonna do all the things in the world, but we're not of the world.
Yeah.
You know, and that sounds like weird to say, but it's like, when I mean by that, it's like, when you talk about community, it's like, it's just gonna be beautiful. We're gonna serve the community, and like all the regular things that people consume, we're just gonna do it through vessels. And then my goal and my end goal, really, and again, I put this out there just in case I don't do it, I need the next mind to do it, because it's all part of that process, right? So the way I think about it, it's like, my first offering is this, Archive 00 Genesis. It's called Archive 00 because in 100 years, if somebody looks back, that was the first archive, right? It was the first starting point. And it's Genesis because it's the beginning of something new. So the goal is to essentially just spark these new minds of like, oh, like really coming to terms with like, oh, I'm more than my mind and body. Very important to understand, because then you could really live a true life that has meaning to you, and it doesn't have to be based around consumerism. You understand? Like you don't need outside validation to be good, and and that is the goal. But overall, where I was going with that is, when it comes to vessels, it's like essentially just building out this community of people that are awakened, and then we just have all, you know, and as a collective, we in all together. And what I've come to realize is when people have their aha moment and have their, you know, work through their trauma and like peel off that first layer of like, let's just say, you know, traumatic life experience, whatever that blocker is they're having, what tends to happen is they have a new mind, meaning like they're a completely new person, which is like I told you for me, it's like, you know, there's a lot of things we do right now, we do it out of fear, you know, shame, whatever, you know, all the words, right? You do it in that sense, but when you actually when you go through your healing journey, and you do some form of shadow work and you come back into yourself whole, you kind of realize like, oh, this is what I really meant to do with my life. This is what I really wanted to do with myself. And then because your authenticity shows up because you've made peace, or you reframed every aspect of your past, so you could really show up as yourself. So what I want to do is, over time, and this company, you know, it's all God's grace if it happens, but if this company does well, what I want to do is I want to have a specific fund just for our community. So if somebody ever bought vessels and went through that process and says, oh man, I have a spark, and like I want to, I don't know, build, you know, I want to open up a restaurant. Like if it aligns with us, we want to fund that. Yeah. And it just becomes this mechanism that's just penetrating the world and contributing to that oneness like you're talking about, because that's really where I'm at.
Yeah, no, that's dope. That's dope. I got one idea that I'm going to come back to, but you mentioned mushroom coffee, right? Yeah. Which is a good segue, I think, into
the business side.
The business side, right? Like so. Share a little bit about where you are with both vessels and where you are with goals in terms of like product launch, sort of partnerships. I know that with goals you have a really cool partnership that you just launched a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, with Fitness. That was dope.
Yeah, so just share a little bit about the business side of where you are from where you started and where you are today with both.
Yeah, so both products are essentially launched. I think by the time this airs, vessels will officially be launched. We just did a rollout as far as like our first activation. We brought community together, about 20 people. It was an incredible like event, breathwork meditation, a guided meditation and a sound bath. And you know, I think the recap is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible, right? And these are some people that may have experience with it and may not. But it's like, and on top of that, a lot of people still function in the mind. So like what they see means a lot. So it's an elevated brand. So when they had that experience of just opening their vessel box and having an intention of why they would go through that 40-day journey, it's like, okay, and this is super sexy. It's like opening your Louis Vuitton box.
It's a unboxing.
The unboxing experience
for helping all the consciousness.
Absolutely. And again, and that's the purpose of, if you are a person that's coming into this community and whatever you having, you know, your mental blockers and you know you're not 100%, you should still be honored, right? You should still have that luxury experience. I don't need to just give you, here's a box. No, you should have like a full experience. Like, man, even though I'm going through this rough patch in my life and I'm awakening to myself, this company sees me. Yeah, that's it.
Empathy,
bro. And that's the bottom line of all of this. Bottom line, bro. Because at the end of the day, it goes down to this, man. Everyone is you having a different experience. If you could function on that, you good. Because how do you want to be treated? Right. So let's stop there. Let's not even add more low tech to it. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop there. How do you want to be treated?
Yeah. No, that's a good way to frame it. You mentioned you just had this event. Are live events part of sort of the business model, or how are you thinking about live events and building community?
Great question. So it's all of it. So it's everything from products. So the products and online courses are part of just creating that community and really getting people grounded to like go from not just consuming something, but really practitioners, right? So we do our best to like articulate that with the courses, like, you know, sharing different information as far as like how to properly approach your life. It could be something as simple, like for part of it, it talks about fasting, right? Something super simple, but just kind of like, you know, what does that look like to fast, and like, what are some good recommendations? Even if you do a 3-day, 7-day fast, it's not, it's a start. Right. And that's okay. And like everybody has a starting point, and that's why this is intended for you to curate it how you see fit. Back to your point about like how I see the whole system, it's a lifestyle, it's a community, it's everything, man. You know, everything as far as just like, and again, the reason why you're gonna see a variety of like products launched under this, because it's to build community, but really it's a behemoth that's going to feed itself and everyone in it. That's what I inspire for it to be. You know what I mean? Whatever transpires of it, like comes of it, it's all God's grace and what He's going to do, and it's going to do with us. He, but it, she, you know, it's going to do with it, and it's just going to move the way it's supposed to, because intention behind it is very, you know, it is what it is.
Is this direct to consumer, or how do folks connect online? Is there? I'm assuming there's an app alongside.
No.
There's no
not
app.
For vessels.
Not for
yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Not at this stage. I think, like, to your point, at some point we'll definitely start to build out that community. But for right now, it's really just a simple site that comes with product and a course once you consume it together, right? But again, in the future, it's going to be, you know, a variety of products of like that's going to roll out underneath it that complements that spark once you're there, you know. But the goal is, the initial is just helping people come to terms with like, who am I? Really though, fundamentally, who are you? Because once you have that answer, your life is good, your life is simple, because then it all makes sense. You get to be in harmony with what's happening, you know, around you.
Right. Yeah. There's a clear direction and sense of purpose.
Goals.
Goals.
Right?
Yes.
So goals is intended to be more like a VC-backed company, right? So we're in the process right now. We rolled out beta. We did our first partnership.
Dope.
Had a bunch of conversations. As of today's recording, we haven't actually got it funded. But I'm truly believe like all is in alignment when that makes sense for us, along with whoever the partner is gonna be, and it needs to be the right partner.
Yeah.
Right. Someone that really understands like that process of giving birth to ideation. You know, like it's a process. It's a real thing. It's not just, you know, we're talking off camera about like, you know, championship and like did you earn it? It's a process.
Yeah.
It really is. And you know, some people know what that looks like and some people don't.
Right.
And yeah, we want to work with the people that understand like let's bring the future to the present in the most authentic way possible, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll bring this on camera because we may have this conversation off camera too. I think it's a little bit longer path traveled, right? But you definitely want to make sure that the folks that do come on board with you, that do partner with you financially, strategically, are the right partners, right? Because what you're doing is super intentional, right? What you're doing is meant to be more than just a financial conduit, right? It's meant for more than financial gain, so you don't want to bring on a partner that doesn't see it the same way you see it and is only looking for the financial gain.
Yeah.
We're obviously part of the mission involves generating revenue, right? But you don't want somebody who comes in and says, "Yo, Jeff, love that idea. We need to do this so we can monetize it and get more users on the platform or something like that."
And I'll say this to complement it, you know, regardless how people feel about him, Mark Zuckerberg said one of the most profound things I think eluded a lot of people. When he first rolled out Facebook, I think his business partner was just trying to monetize and do all this stuff. He had enough foresight to say, we don't even know what this thing is. That is one of the most profound things to say when it comes to an ideation process or just birthing an idea and bringing it to life.
Yeah.
Just like allowing it to evolve into what it's gonna be. You know what I mean? And these are the things where it's kind of like, you know, people feel like you woo woo. It's like, no, bro. Like it's like you have a recipe.
Yeah.
You're gonna cook something and you just throw everything in one pot because you put the seasoning in it. And it's like, well, it should be chicken because, you know, I didn't let it bake. I didn't let anything happen, but I just put all the seasoning to it. So technically, if we're being logical, it should taste the same, should it not?
Yeah.
But you didn't give it time to become what it's supposed to be in different phases.
Yeah. I don't want to eat out that pot. I'm not gonna.
No doubt.
I don't want to eat out that pot. But yeah, no, I think along that same wavelength, I think everything happens in due time, right? And quite frankly, I think in this period too, it gives you a chance to evaluate investors, right? I think one of the things that I don't see enough from entrepreneurs is learning who these investors are that they're talking to and understanding what their working style is, understanding what benefit or what help they can bring to them, right, and their platform and their team and what they're building, right. And so there's a phrase I love, and it goes, the disadvantage, right, is usually the advantage, right. And it just really depends on the paradigm through which you're looking at things, right. And so I couldn't agree more with everything you said. I am curious, right, because I think what's really cool about speaking with you is that you're a serial entrepreneur, right? And there's a lot of experience, and whoever might catch this, hear this, watch this, might think, oh, I can't do this because Jeff has had multiple businesses or started multiple companies. What would you say to that, right? To somebody on their journey, or they're trying to figure out or bring something that they see in the future into the present. What advice would you give them?
Not every idea is your idea, right? Not every idea is worth exploring, I should say.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it's like you have to do some form of self-evaluation. Do you qualify? You know, that's an important part of that process too. Because you can have a really cool idea, but it's like if you don't have any skill sets that really complements that, or at least something that really just drives you to just be the person that could bring it to life. And truth be told, if it's like a moth to a flame is my thing, right? If that's really what pulls you, go into it.
Yeah.
But if it's just kind of like wishy-washy, you're not really convicted by it, stop.
Mm.
Let the thing that really, because something does convict, you do have conviction about something.
Mm-hmm.
So just find that thing and lean into it, and you're good, right? Like just back to, allowing this, the ether to work through you. Like find out one thing that really pulls you in, and then go into that. And it's kind of like, and if it's one or two things, you got to trust yourself. There's a certain level of like self-awareness you need to have when you're creating, because the bulk of people create from the mind, meaning like, trying to like follow all the hacks to do it. What I would tell you is do things from a genuine standpoint, and then you'll be okay. It just, regardless if anything I said here makes sense to you, it's just the truth. Like if you lean into what really pulls you, what really pulls your actual nature, like whatever is, your true nature, let that come forth. Like everything I said to you, I wrote in my book, for goals, right? I used to do that manually. It just dawned on me, oh, I should digitize this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And luckily I had my background in like CS, so like I knew how to leverage, I understood how the tech came together. You have to follow your intuition. That's my biggest thing.
So we were talking about goals, and we were talking about vessels,
Yeah.
right? And your vision for expanding product line and both capability on both the synthetic media side for goals and the different products that you want to bring through vessels, and quite frankly also incubating and accelerating other entrepreneurs and other businesses through a potential fund, right?
Yeah.
When you think about, we to go back to the sports reference, we were talking about championship teams and sort of the process. Are there any pieces that you think you're missing, or what pieces do you think that you need to help bring that from the future into the present?
Yeah. So I think it's two parts. The first part is, I think, is going to happen organically, which is like, as we grow this out, there's different minds that's going to come in and complement that vision, and they're going to propel this forward, which is new insight that I just don't have, and that's the beauty of building community and just rolling something out, because other people could just run with it and just let that be, right? That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
The other side is everything we're talking about. I need a partner. I need a financial partner that just understands what we're building and has access to capital and just allow us to do what we're doing, right? It's not all world per se, but the right partner will understand what's happening and, be able to really back it the right way. And yeah, incredible things come of that, right? When you just have access to capital to just project.
Yeah.
Because everything is limited, right? Without. So it's like, I'm one developer. There's only so much I could build within my 24 hours.
Right.
If I have, 20 developers, it's a whole nother story, right? So it's just very simple, in this 3D realm, like the thing that controls how others react is cap. So, with capital, we could really do the best activations. We could really do we could project even better by having more minds involved.
Yeah.
Right? So one piece is organic, meaning like a super talented person is just, ideally they would hear the vision behind it and align to it. And then the second part is like allowing them to sustain their living by having the capital to just, okay, here's your salary, this is the vision, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're getting paid, but we're more aligned along the vision,
Yeah, scaling up the team, right?
Absolutely.
And which in turn will help you or enable you to scale yourself up, right? So that you can spread to other areas of the business and help move the business forward.
And you said something incredible too. You were like, with the right partner before, you were saying how like, yes, there's a financial gain, but really it's like, the winners, right? It's just more like when people are aligned on the level that we're talking about right now,
Yeah.
like, people that watch from the outside, they're like, oh, that's incredible. This guy did all this stuff. But it's like, we had to be on this wavelength for that to happen, not the other way around. Because we've seen plenty of money get thrown into companies that flop.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's of the mind. Like this person is not really aligned and they're trying to force something. You could throw money at a brand that just don't make sense. Not because the ideas are wrong. It's the energy behind that idea that's not aligned, so it can't project right.
Right.
You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And
1,000%.
that's it. And so for us, and on a very low scale, everything we've done, you know, again, all God's grace. It's like it's beautiful, bro. I have people that want to help me without me even like having a budget for them per se.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And I'm just always in awe at like the friendships that I've built on this journey. Even if, you know, we don't find the right partner for X amount of time, it's like, for me, I'm already home. Because like the people I'm meeting on the journey for me is already that. But I think what would be beautiful is if we have someone that comes on board as like a partner per se in that sense, understands what we're doing, allows us to project even more, and we all align. Oh, it's going to be an incredible future.
Two thoughts, right?
Yes.
So there's this idea of product market fit, right? Like so finding your product, finding the right customer set or the right market for you to sell into, right? And once you find that, that's when you start to exhibit maybe more sales efficiency. You might exhibit less churn, right? People find or are buying your product and they love it, right? That's sort of what every company's looking for, and every investor is looking for a company that's found that. On the investor side, I would flip it and say, I didn't coin this term, but this idea of investor founder fit, right? Where it's like, you're right, capital has flowed to a bunch of ideas that have not worked. The ideas and the companies might have been good companies, right? But for some other reason, there wasn't alignment, right? And you want to make sure that the folks that you're taking capital from align with one, your value set, your company values, and your mission, right? Because if any of those are out of line, then
Correct.
especially when something hits the fan, when you have a tough 2 quarters in a row, or sales aren't moving as quickly as maybe projected, or you have some challenges on the hiring side and you have to let some people go. There might be people who jump ship or might think, hey, there needs to be some changes here, right? You want to make sure that you find people, like you said, that are looking at you and betting on you, right? And trusting that not only is your vision right, but that you're going to figure it out along the way, because guess what?
100%.
Nobody has all the answers at the beginning. Nobody has all the answers at the end, right? And that's the beauty of the journey, right?